from the 17th of the second month of 1422. 18, the moon. 10 of cups. And 8 of wands. The dogs need to learn how to be quiet. The presence of family can be quite quaint. He practices the skills to bring him where he says, ain't. Synchronicity brings him towards his goals. Be happy that you made it as souls. Feminine mysteries had control. Now, of these cards and the poem, what are your initial impressions?
I picked up that waiting can lead to harmony. Waiting can lead to harmony. It's not a quick road to what one would call happiness, but patience comes into play.
So one by one, before I give myself a...
And that the moon, that's where waiting.
Well, just like I noticed with the coyotes. Now, when the coyotes come to town at night and I'm out there, I have a video. My last Yule celebration, I went out there and I'm like, I didn't have enough on my camera to record my telling of my experience. So I went out there at the middle of the night when the rest of it was uploaded. I came out there and it's like, before I go to bed, I'm going to come out here and get back on this. I'm going to show the thing from my book from the previous year. And so I'm going to do some stuff. And so coyotes, a group of coyotes.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, I am not letting these things swarm around me. I am, first of all, asserting that I am strong enough of a critter to get myself out of here. And I'm getting myself out of here and back inside. Because people sometimes do get attacked by a pack of wolves or coyotes or something. Wolves more like, because you think coyotes, no. Just like a wolf, if you're one-on-one and you grab the nearest stick. But when you got a group of them on you, you may even want more than one shot in your gun.
Yeah, definitely.
And see, that's one of the things. A lot of people, the difference between the multi-shot guns and not is the you know, most of the Constitution, I say don't change. We don't need to change it. And gun rights is one of them. Now somebody is convicted of robbing stores with a gun. Maybe you take away their gun for their life, and that's just how it works. But other people, whatever. But the idea that some guns are more accurate than others, or they have more shots or something, that costs more lives in terms of accidents, in terms of people not having guns when the gangs show up, or some pack of animals or something. It's you know, it's and hammers kill more people than all the rifle shootings combined. But anyways, they wait for particular stuff to happen with the moon. They wait for particular times of night. They wait for the moon to be above the clouds at a certain point or something like this. And then they all signal each other. It's like, hey, you, half a mile over. I don't know what they say, but you know, it's like, hey, you, half a mile over there. And it's almost like some of that stuff in Egypt that's like worn by as much as like 18,000 years, and you know, there's some of those stone sites that are worn by tens of, or even hundreds of thousands of years of weather. And so that reminds me, it's like, this has got to be intentional here. Just like
Yeah.
maybe this guy made this perfect crack down this rock on purpose and just never finished the job, or that maybe that was enough for his purpose or something. Like in Saudi Arabia, there's like a giant stone crack down the middle or something, and they're like, this is done perfectly. It's like, how in the world do they do that well? That, first of all, this is not some standard hammer and chisel sort of thing, and which is crazy, right? Some of the stuff you see, right? If you do it the old-fashioned way, here's this giant boulder, and you know how to do it, right? You work with the residences and stuff like this if you have practice. If you don't have practice, it's even more dangerous. But what do? You have to be able to run out of the way. So, and then when the thing really starts to crack, then you run out of the way of this boulder. But you got to be down here, and you got to figure out how to get out of the way of this boulder you're cracking open and busting open, and people end up hurt or killed or something over that, like all the time. Not all the time in every area, but somewhere. But that makes me think the whole thing's intentional. And of course, moon being for Pisces, they got a crab, and honestly, they should have done crawdads, right? They should have had crayfish or lobster or something. Crabs, you want crabs. Actually, maybe you want crabs more on the chariot card, but the moon card, because crabs are a thing of retreat. The moon card usually represents illusion and delusion, or the power over it, or the power to operate it or something. So as much as anything else, the moon card, if you're going to talk about witchcraft, is in terms of something specifically called witchcraft. The moon card is you're there. The moon card is right where it is. So that's what you have to deal with. But what were the lines on the poem? So the lines on the poem were: the dogs need to learn how to be quiet. Feminine mysteries had control. Because that's why we learned why men learned how to count the moon cycles and all the eclipses and all that other stuff, is because that not just the 29 and a half day thing, but the sidereal month and the other stuff, all that has an effect on women. So we learned it to be better at our relationships. I think that to put a nice spin on it, that's why it happened. And then they started worshiping goddesses because, honestly, and then they started exaggerating the female of but it started. Part of that was because they started men in caves. Sure, some of that. If you've seen the Magical Egypt stuff, that stuff's some good stuff. I'll do a program on their Series X, because I really should do a program on their Series X once I finish watching it at least once. But the
Okay.
some of those statues and stuff convey some rather accurate. It's mythologized, so you don't expect it to be like a medical chart or something. But it conveys some very accurate information about the stars and about our bodies and all sorts of stuff. So a lot of this stuff, it's not just, I was satisfied with the explanation. It's a bunch of men drawing just like they have women in pornography put on makeup and maybe even prosthetics or whatever they do on whatever video or whatnot. And on the television, it's the same thing. They're just being on this side. Okay, we're not going to do pornography, but we're going to have them uncover and enhance and some. It's on the same principle. It's just not the same thing.
Right.
But the they would so men in caves drawing and scratching stuff were drawing stuff that eventually they realized no earthly woman could possibly manifest like this,
Right.
and so therefore it ended up being goddesses. They started thinking goddesses and animals too. There are some of how people ended up worshiping these male and female forms is they just exaggerated what they considered ideals to the point where it was just not possible. And they realized it wasn't possible, but they wanted it to be possible. So they said, there's more to it than that, psychologically and stuff like this. But there's reasons why we think these human and plant and animal ways about divinity that really limits the whole concept. But and so, well, that's that card. And so this 10 of Cups. So every cup's a little bit different here. So what are your ideas of? Let me get a clearer shot of this.
I see a minus, taking away, retreat, like a retreat.
Retreat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well,
like
it
one.
is, you know, you have all those cups there. You have 6 cups. You got a family. You got a, well, oh, the father's not, there's no father in this deck. There really should be a father or a in this deck, not just the children, but you know, you got the older, you got the young woman, you got the mother, you got well, you got, okay, you got the maiden and the, really, that not quite crone. That's not quite, yeah, well, I guess maybe the word's broader than that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And or perhaps the virgin, the wife, and so you don't have a crone here, so you really could work all that into a card like this, but you have different ages, and that's sort of the impression you get. You get the mother, you have the teenager that's really should be that can be off and ready to be married at any point, I guess, and then you got the young girl in between, and then you have the other. So yeah, I guess you have 4 ages. I don't know. So maybe I don't know what age kid they're trying to represent, but that's obviously still a kid right there. That's obviously not, and that's obviously not. But they got more than they need, and they're a point of relaxation. You know, you have more than you need to drink, and you're right there, and you got your stool and or your cushion or whatever to sit on, and there's often a rainbow on a card like this.
Yeah.
And to reiterate the lines from the poem, the presence of family can be quite quaint. Be happy that you made it as souls. And that's, of course, how I always try to connect all these things, is because, first of all, I'm not just predicting people's future in finance or something like that. There'll be messages about that in the tarot reading, sure, certainly. But and certainly it's like, okay, here is going to be a card about this, and whatever card shows up, you put in that context and you think over it. It's brainstorming and all that. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do full scenes for my cards, or if I'm just going to have something more mystical and symbolic. But so we have the 8 of Wands here.
I see pondering. I see just waiting and pondering. The right time. There's a right time for everything.
And so okay, so here we have a person making a throw, but he has a whole series, and maybe he's doing it in order or something about that. And you can tell he's got that, you know, I can't do this. If I set up in the living room at some point, I'm going to green screen and do all that stuff. I'm going to do something there. So maybe at that point I can lift my leg up and try to do the Nolan Ryan. No, I probably wouldn't, because then if I fall in the wrong direction and stumble, I'm going to break something or hurt myself even worse. So maybe not. Outside strings, but see, you notice the way he's throwing. He's got some techniques. My grandfather was an athletics coach, so we were trained in fight. I was trained in fighting because I guess I maybe needed it more than the rest of the family, or maybe the others weren't as interested. But anyway, but I got technique down in some of this throwing and different sports and all that sort of stuff. If I throw weird, if someone catches me throwing a stone off to the side, it's like, first of all, I'm not going to wear myself out throwing rocks when I don't have to. And second of all, I have hurt people throwing rocks before and people getting in the way. So I don't want a repeat of that. And I don't know what liability, you know, so yeah, I don't want a repeat of that. So I don't, yeah. And no, I wasn't one of those people who threw rocks off bridges or some stuff, something like that, it's like, no, you knew what you were doing was wrong and you put yourself to the risk. It's just like a drunk driver. You're like, come on, someone died. You knew that you knew some of the risks getting behind the wheel, and you took those risks that lives were going to end. You could have ended more lives. So, it's just how things are. And just like some teenagers throwing bricks and stuff off the freeway. Whenever that happens, we do need to give you your full 5 to 20 years. Thank you very much. That's just, you knew what was coming with this, or you should have known to the point, but see that's why I won't roll things. I was with someone on a trip, and they rolled a rock off a big old hill down a mountainside, and it's like, do you know what that thing's going to do in the next 1,000 miles going down? Not 1,000, 1,000 feet going down.
Yeah.
And the minutes perhaps before it stops moving. No, don't do that. And if you fall off this edge, and nobody comes here till tomorrow, stuck on this frozen mountain till tomorrow, not able to get into the car where I have food and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, because honestly, you don't know. You're the last one. You're the last. You're up at the end of the day in the middle of winter on a mountain, and nothing is scheduled till the next. They don't even have a schedule. You don't even know that there's going to be a park ranger checking everything until 10 a.m. I could have died up there on that mountain. This guy fallen off trying to trying to make a giant snowball and drop it off the edge. Especially when it was coated in right. What do you think? But anyways, that's not really the point. But with here, remember the Thoth tarot card. The Thoth tarot card, you end up with the wands in every direction, and there's swiftness. So it's kind of like what the deer do. I'm saying? The deer, and they run so swiftly through the forest. People are like, oh, deer are stupid and all that stuff. It's like, no, they have intelligence to do stuff and analyze their environment in ways that we don't have intelligence to analyze and react to our environment.
Oh yeah.
They have some senses. Maybe they can smell better than us or something, but they know how to process that information, and we don't.
Right.
We need our machines and stuff to do this. So, and so
instinct.
Okay, I did share that, so I can get into this. So might as well add on this program some cards of the day, and so I'm at least until I write a series on this. This I guess is going to be the additional cards. We have the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune being the Thursday card. I don't know what day of the week this is going to go up. But so we have, okay, what animals are on here? Is there a falcon, an owl, a groundhog? Is that a groundhog? A mouse? And is that a dodo bird? Aren't they extinct now? So nowadays they're extinct.
Oh, I think they are. Yeah. I see folly in that.
Similar, but yeah, that's so it's like a conference of the birds. So which bird are you? I've shared a translation. Didn't I share a translation of the Conference of the Birds on the channel? But anyways, the Simurge. To give you anyways, there's a group of birds, and you can think of the birds as kind of like different parts of you, kind of like a tarot card. Every character can really refer to you. It can really refer to the external physical universe. It really could refer to deity or other spiritual and other types of spiritual entities. You can categorize them according to the tarot cards. And tarot is from using a biblical word, tra. Tra means gates. So, and it happens to be the tarot word in Hebrew, although tarot is before Hebrew's a newer language in some parts than tarot is. And taro is definitely newer than Aramea, or Aramaic as people call it, or Biblical Hebrew, which is really the wrong way to say it. But so the card for the 10-day period, so the middle of the middle of August, we have this 7 of spades. Spades being, of course, the swords card. And so we got flamingos there. And me being a particular fan of pretty much anything fishy, if it's prepared right, I didn't like oysters most of my life, but there's one Chinese place that prepares them right, and therefore, or that I've encountered. Once I encountered one place and it prepared them right, I know how.
Right.
I'll eat them if they're not, but yeah, I'd rather eat something else. Right? I'd rather have white fish. Right? White fish isn't really anything.
I like whiting too.
I like how they're white, and then they turn red because of the whatever. And it reminds me, if there's, I react pretty harsh to some of those chemical treatments of food. I have literally turned pink after eating some of these weirdly chemical fish. It's more likely happened with meat, but it's happened with fish before. And I just say, with the fish that I buy at home, no dyes, no chemical treatment. It's either wild caught or it's aquaculture, which is actually tends to be better than wild caught. Aquaculture is like wild caught, but it's, you know, it's an environment where you have all the you have the seaweed and the mussels and all that stuff. So you produce more food, first of all, but you do it without the drugs. You do it with aquaculture is without the drugs, and it's without, you know, it has natural cleaner. So it actually might be a cleaner, safer environment than otherwise. But anyway, so I like the fact that they literally react to their food. Now, in the regular sense, seafood, it helps. It helps the hair and the skin. It helps keep one strong. Now, if you're batter frying things and all that other stuff, maybe your health benefits are overshadowed by what you're doing with it. But dealt right, seafood, like the red stuff in fish, it's great, so great for your health in different ways. There's different, and you really, nowadays, they don't want you to talk about this stuff, but trust me, it's better than certain things you could do otherwise. And they knew that. They knew that, and they pulled it from the TV. And they're all face directions, and you wonder how much of this were they trying to hide some sort of meaning. So you have 4 of them facing right, but it's their left, and 4 of them facing their left. But well, I mean, okay, you got 3. You know, when you look at the card, 3 face left and 4 face right, but it's their right and, you know, their left. And there's a water bath. Oh, but it looks like there's a corner in it. It's like there's a sundial.
Yeah, I see happiness in that card for some reason.
Because remember the futile card. So it doesn't really, okay, they're not, it's futile in the sense that they're not at the sea eating some fish or something. They're going into human territory where we have all this artificial gardens and sundials and all that sort of stuff. But then again, it's beneficial because there's, you know, you got maybe all the planets working together. Now, okay, how much time we have? So, whatever, we can make this even one program if we want. The Queen of Flamingos. So the Ace of Swords. Let me give her a look myself if you have any idea with this. It almost looks like she's on a pedestal too.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a seat. So
she's a little vain.
She looks a little wasn't it that game? So she's comforting the animals. If I recall right, she was an abuser who played physical sports with her animals. So what, she pets them afterwards, and they need to pet it anyways, and they need some extra food because they're they're kept in this one area and they're trained to be in this one area or whatever. And
Yeah.
so she's like an abuser, ain't she?
Yeah.
But no, the Queen of
Yeah.
Swords doesn't have to be, none of these cards have to be good or bad, but that's what
Right.
that reminds me of, because you can think of something, I told you about something going on right now, a certain event being held in Colorado. And I could say more about the location or anything like that, but anyways, this person, what's that song? She ain't got to love nobody, whatever. But that person's like, same thing. She's like, oh yes, look at me and all my attention, and
Yeah.
no, that person puts on a show too. That person probably doesn't. I don't know if that person actually cares at all about her fans. It's just good for business and all that. But see, that's the thing. That person I was telling you about is physically abused, physically and from indications sexually abused, because you say you bully people into sex and that's whatever. But at least Alice in Wonderland didn't get that dark. I'm not saying it ever got that dark. So okay,
Right.
so let's get into the to the month, the month card. So the month card we're looking at here is the Chariot. So the Chariot, as I said, the crab should probably go with that. But the Chariot, it reminds you that there is something beyond the physical. Just like that queen, that King of Hearts, or the Knight of Cups, or whatever you want to call that card. There's like an emotional quest. There's a quest for something beyond mere physical. It could be emotional, it could be sensual, it could be whatever, but there's a vehicle going on. So the position you're in, the roles you're in, all that stuff, it's a situation and it's for an ends. So it's a practical thing going on here. So I don't know why in the world the guy's hanging out the window and looking at binoculars through the thing. Is he looking at close detail to that little girl, or is it a little? I think it's a little girl.
Yeah.
That's a little girl on that chair there.
I think so.
Little girl,
Yeah.
little boy, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's creepy. Why in the world are you looking at me close up with the magnifier? I'm not necessarily saying you're into that, but it's just your scientific interest, as you can say, has gone too far. And you got three birds through the window, though. Three birds, kind of indicating sort of, oh, maybe we're going a bit beyond all this stuff here. And
that was a very strange deck.
so there's something a little bit. So I don't know. That hat almost makes you think he's a tin man, but maybe he's just a foreigner, and that's like their style of cap. Have you ever worn? Do you have any of those like Tibetan hats or some of those Turkish hats or stuff? Or some of those deep into Russia hats? Those things are warmer than they look.
Oh wow!
Like you don't even want to wear them until it's frozen out, and they're just fine. It's 5 below, and you're out in one of those things. It's like, oh, I thought I needed to. That's what you need to do with hats that weren't really meant for that. But you got those, the Sakis, the Gog and Magog. They were known for their cold weather hats. They also kind of protect from the heat, which I noticed that too. Whether it's cold, whether it's winter or whether it's summer, and I shave my hair, or I have it cut short or whatever, it's always like all of a sudden it's like hotter. It's like way hotter. It's not fair. Now, so see, some of these cards I'm getting more when I actually look at it, but the
it's kind of dark. It's a little bit dark.
That's what I'm saying. So the woman who plays physical games with animals that obviously is going to hurt the animals is all petting them afterwards or before and all that. It's like that section of the Kama Sutra that you're like, oh, I had no idea this was in there, and I understand why it's become part of the counterculture. Because It's telling you how to abuse people and how to get away with it. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
It's like you almost regret having buying the. It's like it's a cultural thing, and it tells you this stuff. And it's like, hey, it's like I remind people: just because I have a book doesn't mean I believe or practice everything that's in the book. It's like they don't make you do this when you have a Bible.
Right.
Are you looking forward to the time when you can bash bash an infant of a non-American into the rocks or a non-Christian into the rocks? No, what the hell's wrong? It's in the Bible. Oh, I guess this.
Exactly.
Or you know, this or some weird thing like cutting. You cut up you take a yam and you smear it around the room, and you want this animal, and you're going to want the blood over here and the feathers over. Why do I have to do this?
Right.
It's enough. It's enough when you're reading a real voodoo book, and you're reading a real voodoo book, and the book's saying, okay, here's your popcorn. Really, the mice once they're going to tell all their friends. They're going to say, there's extra food here. Come, because they do that. Ants and everything else will say, this guy has a room where he's dumped like pounds of popcorn on the floor. Everybody come. Chew an extra hole. There's there's a feast, and come quickly. Chew an extra hole. There's not enough time to go around the house. I don't know what they say, but so the page, I like the as kind of like the dark face and whatnot. Some of the princesses are more beautiful or whatever, but that's not the point. But so he's got pages. I like when they balance it out. They have kings and queens. I like the king and queen motif or some other thing like that, or mother, father, daughter, son sort of thing, because that's really what you got. So something that represents that. So here's this. We got this page thing, and is it like a beggar? What's on the dude's hat?
I see a little loneliness in that card.
9 UL, and I don't know what's on this dude's hat. I feel like maybe that's some sort of message or something. I can't sit like that.
Like the hat is off, and I'm
but he's for the water, so I guess this page is trying to gather. He looks like he's gathering some sort of physical support here, right? But that's not it. That's not it really. Right. Well, the thing that's happening is, I'm going to have to go for when this one's over. But so he's gathering something, but he's the cups. He's the cups, right? So it's the heart. It's the emotions. He's gathering emotional support for the night.
Yeah.
And he's being trained, so he's a little bit better off than not. But for every princess, so 3 cards that are going to say the same all season long are the Hanged Man, the Ace, and Princess of Cups. So they're all water cards. So moving on here, we have the hats. And this looks more like the ace of, this looks more like the other aces, like the coming out of the clouds with the whatever. Yeah. The cup. This is unique with doing this, because when you look at it, you think to yourself, Rider-Waite-Smith and some of the other decks. Anything that connects to Golden Dawn is gonna. This is not a cup card. It's not a disc card. I mean the theme that's going on there. But you have water below. But again, this is an empty hat. They should have the milk trick. Right. You know the standard magician milk trick or something. They should have something like that going on with this card. But there's like, I don't know, lily pads beneath. I know that so.
I feel like
it's like you're empty of feeling, you're empty of experience, and you're open to it. But at least so there's an openness to it all. We could actually per se weave these together if there's time. But the Hanged Man, lobster is going to be cooked. The Sufi talks about being cooked. I was raw, and then I was cooked, and then I was burnt, but he's not talking about abusing himself and all that stuff. So there's alchemical metaphors going on here. But the lobster, again, I wouldn't have put the lobster on the Hanged Man card. But I don't know if other than flamingos being hung upside down, there was anything related to Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland made it. Did you ever see that? I mean, you weren't alive when it came out, but there was a drug PSA announcement from like 1970 or something like that. This was Alice in Wonderland themed, and it was probably the best drug PSA that I've ever seen, in my opinion, for certain reasons. But they're, you know, because they covered the variety of drugs, and it's like heroin is king, and when I'm on uppers, it's I'm on the top of the world, and then I crash, and that sort of thing. Because you know, it was real about it, and it was humorous and or whatever, in an entertaining way, and it kind of, you know, and it wasn't like you know, it's like. It's like that one guy, that one comedian, and he was like, I don't know about the whole brain on drugs thing. I don't know if I just never got the good stuff or whatever. I've been on this and this, but I've never thought I was like my brain was like an egg in a frying pan or so, or whatever. And, you know, you tell people, like, you say, hey, here are some extreme possibilities, and here are what's going to probably happen to everybody. And you know.
I remember that. Just Say No in the mid-'80s. Oh no, what a disaster.
And yeah, I remember, because I was born in the 80s, and there was all that stuff, all that stuff, and a free fill to connect any pick two cards and combine them. Because I am going to take away fortune here and put it in a different the next day's card. Oh, and fortune's got some blue and white. So again, you're like choosing between multiple options. That's an important thing they needed to point out, right? All these things, we have multiple options, or what we actually believe and practice and all that. Now, if I ever talk to two people on the same day and get out the cards, I'm obviously going to use two different decks. But you know, the yeah, we have. And so here we have like 5. An important thing that sometimes you want to represent with an ace card is the whole body. The whole body, or maybe a full 10 options, or a full 7, or whatever. 5 things, I guess, you know, some, you know, in Zoroastrian, as people would falsely call it, it's not called that in its own literature, but a Zoroastrian or Muslim or something would have 5 daily prayers. There's indication that sometimes the Judeo-Christian world had that. The Judeo-Christian world had, some Christians had a 5-day calendar. You know that? They had a 5-day calendar, and every 5 days. And maybe some weeks had like an extra couple days or something like that. So they had it was almost, you know, because astrologically you have the zodiac, and you have the decans. So 12 zodiac, 36 decans, 72 quinary, 360, I don't know what they're called, degree stars. There were some side constellations that weren't included either in the main